Hey, what's going on everybody? Today is going to be a bit of a different video. We're going to be unboxing some new network hardware. Full disclosure, I was sent this hardware by TP-Link with the agreement that I will be making some videos on it. There have been no promises to talk highly of this at all. So basically what I'm going to be doing is taking this equipment, using it for a little while, comparing it to what I know, which is mostly Unifi and Edge routers. And then I'm also going to put it through my regular testing process, testing the speed, the throughput, yada yada. Now, I am very unfamiliar with TP-Link's equipment, especially their SDN equipment. So I'm going to be learning this from the ground up, and I'll be sharing with you kind of my struggles that I'll be having with it, if there are any, and let you know how the performance is. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the equipment we're going to be unboxing. First off here, we've got a AX1800 wireless 6 access point. This should be directly competing with the Unifi, well actually the Unifi 6 access point, which supports wireless 6. I do not have a wireless 6 access point to compare this with, so this will pretty much be the first. The second thing we've got is basically their hardware controller. This is the equivalent to the Unifi Cloud Key. From my understanding, TP-Link's SDN runs pretty much the same way as a Unifi controller, and they have their own hardware controller here instead of having to set it up on a PC like we would typically do with a Unifi controller. And I will be using both of them in my testing, and I haven't done very much research on any of this at all, but from the screenshots that I've seen, their SDN or their hardware controller looks very, very similar and almost a rip-off of Unifi's. So we'll really see how similar that is once we get into it, but we do have the hardware option. Now next we have another access point. This is actually an AX1800 wall plate. So this is a very small access point. It's designed to pretty much mount right to a wall plate. This is probably more useful for, say, like hotel rooms where you'll have an access point per room, and it's just on the wall, and it's also Wi-Fi 6 as well. Now the big boy that we got here is the Jetstream 10-port gigabit smart switch with 8 ports of PoE. So pretty self-explanatory. This is a 10-port switch, which can also be managed by that SDN. As you can see on the front, it's called AMADA Centralized Management. There are a lot more caveats, or not caveats, features that are listed on this switch that I am very curious about. Mostly the denial of service defend and a lot of the quality of service features that are just listed on the front of the box. Now, I have not previously opened any of these, so that's what this video is all about, just kind of unboxing these for the very first time, giving you my initial impressions of what's in the box and just opinion on the overall quality of what's in there. Like I said, I haven't set any of this up before. This is the first time unboxing it, so I really can't talk about any of the features or performance past what I am going to be seeing on the pamphlets that are inside the box and what's written on the outside of them. Let's go ahead and get into this. Open this switch. And we have pretty typical starter stuff. We got the installation guide and looks like the AMADA pamphlet. We should have some power cables over here. Looks like it just has one standard power cable, so the power supply is actually in the device itself, and we have rack mount hardware. Actually, it's pretty cool because obviously this is not a full 19-inch device. So we have the option to mount it in a rack with these special ears if we'd like to. Let's just go ahead and get this box out of the way. There's nothing else in it. And here is the switch itself, which looks very similar to any other TP-Link switch that I've actually seen. You still have the port LEDs here on the side of it. There are no LEDs for the ports themselves. It's all kind of right here, which I actually like that. When I run into switches like these, you can pretty clearly see which ports are active, which ports are not. There's not really a chance for the cables that are plugged into these to actually hide the link LEDs. They're all right here, hopefully very visible. And the rest of it's kind of, I mean, feels like aluminum. Not a whole lot else going on here. It's a typical looking TP-Link switch, I guess. There are 2 SFP ports here though. Yep, that is pretty much it. I think we'll just have to wait until we get it all set up to really see about those features it was talking about. Yeah, this thing is just going through all of the Omada hardware, what all you can buy. Let's take a quick gander at the installation guide here, see if there's anything crazy. Let's see, doesn't look like it. The first 3 chapters are just how to plug it in or rack mount it if you want to. Let's see, configuration. It does say standalone mode, so you can configure this using the GUI instead of Omada, I guess. We'll see how that goes, what kind of a GUI it has. And then just kind of some network diagrams with a bunch of the other Omada stuff in it as well. So let's go ahead and put that aside and take a look at something else. We'll start here with the wall plate access point. We got the same Omada thing in the quick installation guide. And then here is the access point itself. So that is all it is, just a wall plate. Looks like there is a button that says LED on it. You've got 3 Ethernet ports on the bottom, and that's actually pretty cool. One of them does have power over Ethernet out as well. That's actually pretty awesome. But it looks like you can almost use this as a switch also. So you've got the Ethernet port right in the center of the back. Comes with this metal wall plate, which looks like it's supposed to go on there, something like that. I don't know, I'm not reading the directions, but basically you mount this straight over the wall plate where you would have an Ethernet cable coming out, plug it into the back, and it is my assumption that you will have 3 ports on the front, basically as a switch, in addition to an access point. So let's go ahead and take a little look through the quick installation guide, see if I'm right. Looks like you can install it in any junction box, be that US, European. This just kind of tells you how to remove the front plate of that box and put on the mounting bracket and then plug in the access point. Cool. Yep, Ethernet 1 and 2 are connected to a client device to transmit data, and Ethernet 3 can also supply PoE pass-through with 802.3 AT. So the maximum output is 13 watts, 12 watts for the US version of whatever. Okay, so you're not going to get the full 15.5 PoE out of that, but it's still very useful. I don't think there's a whole lot that you'd be using with the full 15 watts of PoE anyway. So I am kind of excited about that one. It's a pretty low profile access point there. Moving on to the hardware controller. And it looks like that is it. We got a little I guess that's just a mark in the packaging. Get that out. In the front we've got, looks like a micro USB port for something. Is that even the front? Actually, I guess that's the back. Micro USB must be for power, I'm guessing. I don't see a power brick in the box, so maybe you're just expected to use your own. Well, Ethernet 1 does say PoE in, so it looks like this can be powered by power over Ethernet. And we got a second Ethernet 2 port. Looks like all we've got is a cloud and a power LED, so I'm guessing this can connect back to whatever cloud service they have. So very simple looking device here. I'm just going to assume without using it that it's some kind of Raspberry Pi-like hardware device that's just running that SDN software. Got some little feet for it, and it came with an Ethernet cable. So again, we've got that same Omada advertisement basically and an installation guide. And it says that we got the hardware controller and mounting brackets. Oh no, it says mounting brackets are only for the OC300. We have the OC200 here, so those are not included. It looks like a lot of these instructions are for the OC300, not a whole lot specific to the 200 model here. The only instructions on that page are basically plug it in. Alright, and I had to stop the video there for a minute to do a few things, so I kind of forgot where I was at. I think it was basically at the Omada app. Looks like we have a QR code to get that set up. And it says we go to omada.tblinkcloud.com to set it up. Well, we'll be getting into that later when we actually set this device up. But for now, this actually reminds me of the Netgear 5-port switch. Like, it looks the same size, same material, all of that. So we'll just go ahead and put that back. And lastly, we've got the Wi-Fi 6 AX1800 access point. I'm really just kind of curious how similar this is to a Unifi. Again, we've got that pamphlet, quick installation guide, and everything else in here. So it's a white disc. Actually, the shape of it kind of reminds me a little bit more of the Ingenious access points. Actually, I happen to have one right here. While the top doesn't really look like it, this bottom reminds me a little bit of one. Now that I'm looking at them side by side, they're really not the same at all, but I think it's just this serrated edge that makes me think of that. Anyways, looks like we've got one Ethernet port, reset port, and a 12 volt port for power. Yep, Ethernet is PoE, so this should be able to be powered via PoE. Not really a whole bunch to be said about that. Looks like we have a power supply should we need it, just in case we don't have power over Ethernet, and we got some mounting hardware. Again, just going to look through the installation guide here, see if anything jumps out at me. Blah blah blah, looks like standard mounting instructions, and that's all that page is how to mount it. Again, we've got a QR code for the Omada app, but it does look like we can configure it straight through a web browser interface. We'll definitely be checking that out. That would be nice if you could configure this just on its own without having to use this Omada software, just in case you don't want to. That would be one leg up that it would have over Unifi, where you can use it standalone or as a part of the SDN. You don't have that option with Unifi, so I'm a little bit curious if it's actually going to have that capability. It looks like it from this, but we won't know until we get in there. And that's pretty much it. This is the equipment that I've received so far. I should be receiving their router at some point in the future, but my goal with this is just to kind of compare and contrast it with what I already know, which is mainly Unifi, and see how it performs. Because usually, I mean, if we're being honest, when I think of TP-Link, I think of what you can get at Walmart and not exactly high quality or high configurability. So I am going to be checking this out just to see if there should be some hype behind it, because it looks like this is aimed at small businesses. Looks like they're targeting the same market that Unifi is. When you go to their website, they say that it's good for like hotels, catering services, basically your small business branch office type locations. And while the pricing is pretty much in that category as well, it's along the same lines as Unifi, but it's really not that terrible. So if the performance is there and if we're able to do some pretty advanced stuff with it, then I will be happy, but we'll see. And if you have any questions about this, leave it in the comments down below. And as always, happy networking.